Greetings. More information is in the links provided on this post. This is a bit of a breakdown of the Airship track from Super Mario Bros. 3 that I recreated and resequenced. But I wanted to show some of the sounds that I used in this track. We're going to start off with the low strings. Lots of low strings, very powerful stuff going on here. I wanted to play the end real quick for you. Okay, very deep, tense, but still sharp. I love sharp, distinct, but deep. First track I'm going to play, you'll see is Hans Zimmer strings, the cello's left. You'll see the patch that I use here. I'd like to show you some quick microphone settings. You'll see these are the two spot lefts that you have. This is one thing I love about the Hans Zimmer strings is there's so many spot mics. So if you like layering sounds, tons of spot mics out of Hans Zimmer strings. You might find a lot of reviews that it sounds very synthetic. That's because it's so large and there's so many mics. But if you dig into each instrument and cut back on the mics, and especially do spot mics, you could add some ambience here and there. But spot mics are where I think the Hans Zimmer strings really excels at. So this is the left side. Okay, let's swap to the right side. It's basically the same patch, but it's a different recording. So they took different takes, and this is on the right side, or at least as far as left side, right side. So these are different mics altogether. Okay, you can hear some variation there. Now the middle track, that's BBC Symphony Orchestra. Let me just pull this up here. This is just the strings, cello, and the spiccato patch. Just to show you the mics that I'm using. Again, a little bit of ambience just to fill in. You'll see why later. Just a little bit of the ambient mic, but you see leader and close, wide. So you get close mics set up in a wide stereo format. So that's nice and quick and easy to get that width out of. Adding the mics. Okay, next up, let's add in the BBC SO spiccato in the basses. And you'll see again leader and close wide. Let's just have a audition of those. Wonderful clarity. Love it. Then we have the Hans Zimmer strings, basses as well. Now, there's no spiccato, unfortunately, so that is a bit of a disappointment, but we'll do the short mics, spot left, spot right, so that'll give some good stereo width. As you can tell, it's not nearly as short as the spiccato, but that's going to give it a lot of depth and width and deep bass to it. So you can hear where the BBC SO mics I'm using are very clear. The Hans Zimmer strings are going to give it a lot more volume and length to the sound. Let's shoot up to the bassist cello. Now this is out of the Symphonic strings library. Now I unfortunately have the pro version of just about everything because I like those extra mic and articulations. But you'll see in this patch here, I have the basses and the cello mixed in with each other for ease of having everything on one track. The only downside to this is you have to be real careful with when you have any sort of volume automation. It's very difficult to get things in their separate volumes, but that's okay. You could, if you want, change the individual mic sliders on the left here. That's one way to get around it. I'm sure you can program contact to your needs, but having everything layered in allows me to just have one track. It says, you know, basses and cellos ready to go. Let me just play what this sounds like real quick for you. And skip ahead where it gets louder. So you'll notice basses, short staccato, and then the studio strings, I put a close mic on and an overhead mic on, and this really gives it, let's compare the difference real quick here. We'll do solo. Still sounds good, but it's not very clear. So I add the studio in. And what happens is when you layer those two on top of each other, you get a little bit more distinct sound. Cello's in there, but in order to get a plucking noise, I add the pizzicato Bartok for both of them. Also notice that the basses, I transpose all the bass. Since everything's on one track, I have the basses transposed down an octave. That's to give it that accurate width and pitch. But you'll see some of my mic settings on the Symphonic is about midway on the close, midway on the ambient mics, but full throttle on the tree. That gives a nice mix right there. But having the Bartok plucking sounds, I'll go ahead and play that for you. And the cello. That gives it a lot more clarity, and I'll call it anger. So if I unmute these guys, you can hear a little bit more plucking sound. Obviously that's probably not accurate. It's probably not accurate as far as a live orchestra goes, unless you write them that way. That would be a little bit difficult to do. But from a sound standpoint, it sounds really good. So here's all the strings put together real quick again. Now, something I also do, I like to give a little bit of random. Now, this is Cubase, so I give a couple clicks here and there, randomization on the position, just to get things offsetting just a little bit. And generally what I'll do with especially the contact players is I will go in and make sure the tightness here is all the way to the left. That kind of spreads the entrances around a bit, even with the different samples for each ambient, tree, and close. That'll give it a little bit of variety, a little bit more human, so that you don't get that synthetic computer sound when you have repeating notes. So that's the strings. Let me go down to the timpani. Now this is Hans Zimmer Percussion. I'm not using the rolls right now, so these are just soft stick, nice loud hits. You'll see my microphone settings here. A common mistake is leaving it on just the close. You will get such a wide, different sound when you play with the mics, especially with the percussion. Although, this sounds pretty good here. So that's the full mix. Let me play a little bit more. So that's the Hans Zimmer Percussion Timpani. And further down we have some brass. Now, in this particular clip, I'm using, I believe, all the BBC Symphony Orchestra brass patches. I'll play the legato first, but just to show you the patches using, this is just the horns patch here. Kind of a half close, lots of outrigger, quite a bit of ambient, and I think that's all. Looks like Cubase is saving. Yep. That's all I'm using on these, and I think that's pretty standard. And what I'll do, some folks will use the key triggers to swap between legato and staccato. I put them on their own lanes. That's just me, so I can see what's going on. It's a preference. But here's some of the legato sound. And adding in a second horn. And adding bass trombone, also BBC Symphony Orchestra. Add in the tuba. And the two trumpets. These are, yep, everything out of this section is BBC Symphony Orchestra. I like the legato sound out of there the best. It has a wide, mellow sound, which is what I'm going for this. I have the Symphonic brass and studio brass as well. It's much brighter and crisper, so you could layer them in, but in this context, I was definitely going for a little bit more mellow, but loud mellow. And then swapping the articulations to the staccato section. So let me just play it back with everything going at the same time. That is really everything that's on this track piece. All right, so as I was just showing you, my main mix, actually, I put through the Reason rack. I have some pretty fun, nice sounding tube tech, as well as the Tsar 1 reverb. I like to use one kind of standard setting. I will tweak things a little bit in Cubase, but I like the flexibility of just being able to add Reason rack plugin with kind of some basic mastering settings. Or generally speaking, I don't touch any of this. There's a little bit of compression, not a whole lot, just a little bit to smooth it out. The compressor here, some equalizing going on here. I tend to have so much bass in my tracks that I need to actually tone it down a bit, but just kind of a basic mix with some large room reverb here. So that's what I did on this track. Certainly give the channel a like. I'm going to put together some more videos. You can find some links in the post as well. This is not available on YouTube as a full track, but you can go to Amazon as well as Spotify as well as numerous other stations, but YouTube is not my friend for these type of posts. So thanks, you appreciate it.